Welcome back, everybody, to Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. I'm your host, Nico, and joining with me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How's it going?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We had to kind
No,
of we had to vent a little bit before the episode. That's why we're laughing a bit here. No more
no hockey
hockey
talk
talk.
today.
No more hockey talk to open up the episode. So moving
Yeah, the
on.
team following is just got lost, got cooked, got smoked. Blow up the team. Let's go.
Yeah, I was about to say we thankfully let out all of our venting and frustration before the episode here. So if one of these comics gets nuked in the reviews, I'm sorry. Hopefully we'll save it for we saved it for the show. Hopefully we got it out of our system. But make sure you're subscribed to the channel, guys. This is our weekly comic book review show where we get together every week and talk about the comics that we've read and give our thoughts and reviews on the books. We go over some comic book news sometime. And today we're going to be talking about the new comic books that came out for the week of May 14th, 2025. And as always, spoiler warning, if you're worried about us going over what's going to happen in the books or showing, we show off the art and this kind of stuff. If you're worried about getting spoiled, then you can always read your books and come back. Check out our playlists and all kinds of different stuff here on the Late Night Chat Network. A lot of different content, movie stuff, sports stuff. It's your first stop for pop culture talk. That's right. Say it again now. All right, Chris.
All right. Well, let's talk comics.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. First up on the docket here today, we got Supergirl #1. I'm pretty sure you got the art germ cover, I'm guessing.
No, I went for the Villa Lobos.
Oh, I didn't even see the Villa Lobos, I don't think. Let's take a look at that.
Let's see.
You
I'll
like
try
his
there.
stuff.
Just a bit more of an action pose here.
Oh, that's a good one. You know what? You know what's funny? I did see this, and I thought that was an Adam Hughes for a second. That's good. That's good. Good one.
And yeah, this Supergirl, I don't think this story's for me.
Yeah.
It seemed to be more of like the young adult type of comic. I read the preview. I don't know, it's usually something with was that Shark Queen or the Shark Princess? I don't know if that's related to Shark King or King Shark. And I don't know. I didn't get past the preview. I had a lot to read this week, so this one kind of went to the back burner. I think I'm picking up #2 for an art germ cover, and I'm probably going to pass on this series. Not much to say about it.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the whole thing about it being more of an all age, like the audience for it is definitely a more all age thing. And Supergirl isn't a character, that I'm that familiar with or a fan of to kind of want to continue to pursue reading this with it, especially with it being an all age kind of aim title. If it was something else, another character I was more interested in, possibly. Not to say that all age books are bad, but yeah, this wasn't for me either. That's we'll keep it at that. Yeah, well, I don't want to say it was bad, but it was, it just wasn't like I read this issue. I kind of did like a quick read of it, and yeah, it didn't click for me at all whatsoever. I think the artist is also the writer of this book. What's the name on that book there, Chris? You have it in front of you.
Campbell or something? They don't have the name. Oh, yeah, Campbell and who's Bond villain?
Okay. Who is Sophie Campbell? That's right.
Sophie Campbell
is the artist and writer of this. And I guess the big whole storyline going on so far, she goes back to her hometown, and there's somebody there that has assumed her identity, her human identity or whatever. So she's kind of confused by that and what the hell's going on there. So something's afoot already by the end of this this issue that she's confused by, and I guess we're going to find out what happens moving forward. But me and Chris will not be finding out. So enjoy those covers.
I'll let that mystery stay unsolved.
But yeah, what did you give this?
Yes, I really shouldn't even rate it because I didn't give it a full chance.
Okay,
but yeah, it'd be like a 3.253 for me.
Yeah, I would say 3.25. I'll go in the middle of 3.5 and 3 because Yeah, it just wasn't for me. I don't want to say it was bad, but if I'm basing it on self-interest, yeah, 3.25, let's say, out of 5. All right, next up we got Invincible Universe Battle Beast #1. This was a big phenomenon this week, this issue release, because I don't know, Chris, if you saw, there was, I guess, blind bag releases of this comic, and there was a chance that you can get like special covers or art or
Yeah,
original
that's
art
a
or
pretty good
something.
way of marketing this. Like I
Yeah,
said, I just got the A cover. I don't know if that was for the free comic book day or something. They just had blind bags for
Kirkman
image or something. I don't know how it worked out, but
Kirkman is always really good at that kind of thing, like with the surprises that he has attached to the releases of his #1 books. I mean, like, look, even what he did with Void Rivals when that was his announcement of the Energon universe stuff that
yeah,
he didn't tell anybody. And then the book comes out and everyone's rushing to get it because this guy's very good at that kind of stuff, like marketing, like stuff, like finding new creative ways to kind of like do stuff with comics, like in the marketing of comics, it seems
yeah.
like. So
Like if he had this, like, you get 3 comics for $15, and there's a chance you get a 1 in 25 in there, but you still get two other decent covers. I would have bought them for sure.
yeah. I didn't get a chance to get any of those blind bags, but from what I heard, there was some people buying like 20 of them at a time and stuff like that at
Yeah,
certain shops, right? So some people were really going crazy for that. So yeah, fun little kind of thing he had going on with the release of this book. Anyways, Chris, what'd you think of this? I think this is your first foray into like
yeah.
the
That's my first foray into the sort of invincible universe.
yeah.
So I think one of the first few panels might have been lost on me because it
So
looks like you see some of those invincible characters when he just kind of steps into that whatever is his portal and goes back to his ship. And then for me, that's basically where the story picks up or takes off, let's say. And, that computer, I guess it's fun to have that computer and whatever this battle beast, I don't even know what his name is, not get along. And, I don't know, I did enjoy this comic. This was more my speed, let's say. He's there just kind of chewing on the dead bodies of the crew that was left over. And then, it seems that the computer on the ship is sentient. And it's like, well, I don't like you. And he goes, well, I'm going to try and, send you to somewhere that can kill you. And he's like, well, that's the plan. I'm tired of this. And then I was worried too when he goes, oh, let me tell you my story so it's written. I thought, oh, okay, the rest of this issue is just going to be, some backup history that, I don't know, might have been put out before, but it was just like a couple pages and then, got right back into the business of the story again. So I appreciated that. And yeah, I appreciated the battle there. I didn't know what the heck he was fighting there. And
that guy in
that
the wall.
monster that was trapped in there. And then after he beats that thing, I don't know how he beat him, but he kind of rips him in half and he's about to walk away. And then there's the princes inside. It's some little skeleton thing. Just reminds me of like a Grogu or the Baby Yoda. It looks like he's gonna be toting this little guy around, although he says he's gonna eat him. But somehow I think they're gonna get along somehow.
I love this. I mean, Battle Beast was a character who showed up in the Invincible comics, the series that Kirkman did. A lot of it drawn by Ryan Otley. And he was a minor character in the series. I think he came through the series a couple of times. And that first little bit that you talked about, when they show him like leaving like some of the invincible people and going into the portal and then back to his ship, I think that part was added onto this issue. I think originally that came out as a little short story in some Image anthology that we talked about on the show that came out a year or two
Yeah,
ago. I think they were teasing this series. So I think Kirkman basically threw this in here just as kind of
yeah,
like if you
just how somehow to tie it into this invincible universe.
exactly, yeah, and to say like if you missed that, so here's this little bit that led into this series
Yeah,
essentially. And you don't really need to know anything about him in the Invincible series, but it's basically the same thing. What I love about this characters is very simple. He's just like Goku. He just wants to fight the best. He wants to fight the best out there. He wants to be able to like find somebody that will actually put up a challenge for himself. And that's it. Like that's this guy's whole goal. Like, and he's Ryan Otley having this guy doing the art on this book with all the
yeah.
violence and blood and viscera. This guy is the best at drawing that shit, drawing big fucking muscly dudes. I'm so happy that he's back like in the Invincible universe because he just fits so well here, and I'm glad that Kirkman's writing something. I think this is very smart of him. This way he can kind of go back and do a mini series about a character with one foot in sort of to the Invincible universe, but he's not going back to the story in that sense, like of Mark the Invincible essentially. And Invincible's been huge lately because the animated series is very popular. I've seen all kinds of people.
Is this just going to be a limited series?
I mean, they haven't said as much, but I can't see this going on for.
Yeah.
I mean, this could probably at most, I would say, would be maybe a 12-issue series. Like Ryan Otley isn't the fastest of artists either, right? So I mean, like I can't see this going on for long. I might be wrong, but I mean, I just don't like, if this guy's the title character, I don't see it going. I love this character though. He's really cool. He's kind of like, he's kind of like I said, Goku in that sense, trying to fight the best, and kind of like Conan-esque, I would say as well.
Yeah, mix of Goku. He's got a bit of Lobo in there, and
yeah, for the space angle for sure. Yeah, so this is great. I mean, look at this. Like, your art's fantastic, I gotta say. And there's that little dude that you were referring to.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see where that goes. But that's basically what his whole agenda is right now. The intelligence on the ship is going to basically direct him to people that he could fight that would hopefully pose a challenge to him, and we'll see what happens. Right? That's a really great, simple premise for a book, and I'm in.
Yeah, I'm down for
that. What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 4. It's good.
I'm gonna give it a 4.25 for the art. As I'm gonna give it a little bit more. Yeah, it was nice to see Otley on something. I know we lost him doing Marvel stuff for a while, I feel like, and he did Spider-Man. He did Hulk, which was a little bit more well suited for with Donny Cates, if you recall that. But I think this is where he really shines, like this Invincible stuff. I didn't think he was ever right at Marvel, to be honest with you. Hulk was a little bit better, but I just never saw him doing those characters. It's weird. Anyways, all right, next up we got Hulk Big Bad World #1, another Mark Miller book, and the return to Huck. I guess this is his second mini series with this character. What did you think of this, Chris?
Yeah, once again, this is just another character I've stepped into, and I just like the way Mark Miller writes. His writing is good. The story here, really not much goes on. It's a bit of, I guess, maybe untold history of Huck's mother, and not so much Huck himself. He's out there, whatever. He, kind of just randomly saves some sailor dudes, and a bit of a story with him and his girlfriend. And then his girlfriend kind of lowers the boom on him, and he's not too pleased about that. And we have another, I guess, someone that's been saved or someone that's searching for all these heroes. And we'll see where we go. It's almost got a bit of an X-Files feel to it, with that one guy trying to search everybody out. Trying to prove that all these super beings exist. And it looks like it's going to open up a bigger world for Huck. So, and it's, how can you can't hate this guy. This guy's such a likable character.
Yeah, I loved the first Huck miniseries, and like Chris said, despite not reading it, it seems like he was able to get into this. I don't think you need to have read the first one. You Mark Miller approaches a lot of these miniseries. You can kind of just pick them up and go. And even reading this for the first time, that's kind of where it is. Like they're just picking up at some point where they last left them off here, and they're telling a new story. So I think it's totally accessible. Raphael Albuquerque, who drew the first one, I believe, as well, is back on art here, which is a great fit for it. And I like this Huck guy a lot. Like he has a lot of heart. This was basically his Superman for the Miller World stuff in a way, because he's kind of just like a big kind of dumb oaf type character. Not dumb, but I'll say a little dull. Like he's just like kind-hearted, and he's like a farm boy. So that's kind of like the angle he went with this guy in the first one. And he's kind of very like childlike in a way. And but he, I guess, had a girlfriend or a woman he considered his girlfriend there at the end of the first one, which I don't recall. And in this one, it looks like she's leaving with her ex husband there or whatever, the father to her child. She's left him and kind of left him high and dry here in this issue, like Chris said. And yeah, now we'll see where this goes with all these old supers that they're going to discover. I guess there's all these other people. I also like, Chris, I wonder if you picked up on that too. They referenced obviously all the other heroes in the Miller World stuff that's been going on lately in this. They're like, yeah, not all those heroes, but there's other ancient heroes that have been around or whatever before us. And That's the guys I guess he's looking for right now. I guess heroes that we haven't seen in the Miller World books, but they do reference everything that's been going on, which I thought was kind of cool, bringing it together, like kind of giving the nod that like, yes, this is taking place. Because I guess the last time Huck showed up was in that big game. I guess he showed up in that, right? And
Yeah, but even like they kind of shut him down pretty quickly in that one.
yeah, like 2 pages I think he got or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, what'd you give this?
We got a 4.25. It's a very engaging story.
Wow. Yeah, I give it a 4. I liked it as well. But yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad you liked it. Like I said, one of my favorite Miller World properties. One World Under Doom number 4.
Let's see.
We got this great cover here. Doom.
Well, there's my Transformers. Hold on a second. I think I got a couple covers for this. I don't know how, but I think when I wanted to get the Ross cover there, I don't even know who this guy is. Freaking
Oh yeah.
Blue Beetle guy or something.
I
And then he also had a Dinosaur Doom cover, and I couldn't say no to that.
That's always a good one. Yeah. I think that guy's part of the Squadron Supreme, that one that you have, that other guy. I might be wrong. But anyways, yeah, what'd you think?
This is kind of getting more in line of what I was hoping for like maybe not One World Under Doom, but more of a Doom book there, where he's actually, he's fighting somebody, and he kicks some pretty serious ass in here, and I like the way, that they have kind of Dormammu thinking that Doom is failing and Doom is still as arrogant and everything. But, you might think in your back of your mind, well, maybe Doom is spending too much time, trying to take over the world and leaving the world open to, I guess, these external forces. But he throws down with Dormammu pretty good. And I like the scene there where he almost takes a whole bunch of powers of some of the X-Men there. I think he's got some of he has Wolverine's claws at one point, and he's fighting him down. And then I think at the end, it's almost Doom leading the Avengers or all of Earth's heroes up against this. So it's taking a different swing, and I'm enjoying where this is going.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really liking this event overall, and every issue in it has been another layer to the story. It hasn't really been predictable. He's got Doom going off and doing different things in each issue. It hasn't really just been him against the superheroes, like like a lot of these events tend to be. Yeah, and this whole Dormammu kind of angle here, and the fact that he's also the Sorcerer Supreme was not something I was expecting to see in this event. Yeah, I agree with you. It's good stuff, and I think, it's early in the year, but I think when it comes to the end of the year, when we do our award show, there is that category for events. And I think this has a very good chance of making it into my favorite events of the year so far, the way that it's been panning out. It's not predictable like a lot of events are. And I think that a lot of the tie-ins have been solid that we've been talking about on the show. And Doom's just a great character. So I think Ryan North is bringing his A game. So good stuff.
Yeah.
What'd you give?
I give it 3.75.
I agree. Yep. Good stuff. Yeah, this was cool at the end though. He brings all those he has to like magically make himself a crutch there, Chris. What'd you think of that? That's pretty interesting. I liked that, and then all those like all the heroes, the spirit, they came to help out Doom because he's like, it's you against the Earth, buddy, and they'll always side with me if that's the case, right? Yeah. So good stuff. And then we see a series end this week, X Factor number 10.
Yeah, it's too bad about this one. And then the tone for this one too. I think this one, I guess since they knew it was over, it seemed to lose its jokey tone. Like, I thought they'd maybe, lay into the Power Dog a bit more, or they lay into this General Mills. I always thought that was a fun name for that character. But I think they spent a lot of time either putting the toys either back in the box or getting everybody out of the table just so everybody's usable again. Kind of with, I think, Angel, he realizes he shouldn't be working with the government. Polaris and Havoc seem to have an agreement that they're not good together, things like that. I hope we see Granny Smith or Granny Smite, whatever her name is. Hope to see her around, but I don't know. I know if she's suited for these kind of stories, not much else. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. You can tell that's always the shitty part about books that get canceled. You can tell that the writer has to kind of, grasp at straws in order to kind of to kind of like, resolve everything that's been happening in the series. And even though like this series thankfully has taken the approach to kind of telling more one and done type stories with the missions every issue. So it was a little bit easier, but it definitely had a little bit less of a jokey tone. I totally agree with you. And that's what I thought this was good about this series. It was good satire, I will say. And then in this one, you kind of had to make sense of like, good guys versus bad guys, and them all turning their back on this whole operation, and basically like trying to wrap everything up in a
Yeah,
bow by the end, and saying like, yeah, this was a failed experiment, not only just as a book, but the team in this
yeah,
book, right? So it's too bad. I think at least he tried something different with this book, and I know it didn't vibe with a lot of X-Men fans, but I would argue a lot of the other books aren't what you would expect out of X-Men books either, and
yeah.
I didn't find those not half as interesting as this one personally. So
Oh yeah,
I'll give
I
him that.
found this to be the best out of the other ones like that. X Force, I had really no interest in it. Reading after reading a few issues. The NYX, I didn't really enjoy that one too much. I even the Exceptional X Men, I think that's still out there. Well,
Yes.
even the straight up main titles, they might be moving somewhere now, but oof,
Yeah. Yeah. So they basically just pack up, walk out, and it
yeah,
seems like
that's it.
the traitor of the team is now like prisoner there, and he likes it, and he's grown accustomed to his captor. What
Yeah,
they call that Stockholm syndrome type of shit. And someone comes back for some payback at the end there. So there you go. That's the end of this series. General Mills and Power Dog Guy did not look in good in a good position there at the end.
I hope that's
So
not the last we see a Power Dog. I won't remember him unless he's having a Power Dog guy. Like I don't even know what his name was or what he was doing there.
what'd you give this?
That's 3.75, and I give the series a 3.75. Plus. You know what I mean? Or
Yes. I agree with 3.75 out of 5 this week, and for the series as well. Verging on a 4 at times. I
yeah,
think like, I think if it could have yeah, I just wish it got a few more issues. I honestly I'm disappointed to see it go at 10 issues, but that's kind of the way of things these days. I get it. Low sales, right? I mean,
yeah,
unfortunately. So anyways, Chris, you got a few here coming up. You read Spider-Verse versus Venomverse #1. The art looks great on this book.
yeah. That's about it.
Yeah.
Well, no, these Spider Verse, Venom Verse, I never really enjoyed them. I got one just because he had a foil cover here,
Oh,
and it
wow.
was pretty decent.
That's cool.
And then, I read in the solicitation, sort of Peter Parker is going to be involved in this. It's not just all these stories about these crazy, spider people or venoms that come out of the woodwork. And the beginning of the story, it's a lot of, I guess, comparing, the Spider-Man and Eddie Brock as Venom, but I don't think Eddie Brock's even Venom anymore. So that kind of falls a bit flat. And the narration just reminds me a lot of the beginning of those Spider Verses movies, where it's like just kind of saying what's going on. And then they introduce the team, and I know there's basically 5 spider people and 5 venom people, and they're going to be battling each other. And there's like 3 rounds of battle. Is because the web of life versus the hive, the symbiote hive mind, they can't coexist together. One has to give way to the other, when you get to the spider totems and all that sort of baloney. So I don't know. And I wasn't really too impressed. I do like the characters, but Peter Parker Spider-Man doesn't even feel like a true Peter Parker Spider-Man. If this is the only Spider-Man you read, I think it might track better. But when you kind of know, the voice they've kind of given him in his own comics is not the same voice that he has here.
Right.
And it has that Weapon 8. I always thought he was a good character. There's Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider Ham. There's a bunch of Venoms that are interesting. And they, basically all got a battle. And I'm sure somehow they're going to work it out and become a team up in the end or something. But, it's nice to see all this stuff. But I don't know if I'm not buying this series. I've been had with some of the Venoms and the Spider-Verse ones before. But it's a fun read. And, that's about it. It's just kind of seeing how all these guys sort of interact with each other.
What would
and
you?
I give it a 3.5.
Okay. Cool cover though. I didn't see that actually. That's kind of
Yeah,
neat.
cool cover. Yeah, I don't know why I bought it, but anyways, can't say no to that sometimes.
Spawn 364.
On 364. Once again, I thought I was out of these comics, but when they drop them on me, I can't say no. I'll find the Jesus Christ, where is that? It just out of my hand. There we go.
Let's see that.
I think they're starting some new arc or something of Hell Hath Risen.
Okay.
With Brent Booth and what's that? Todd McFarlane scripting it. It's not bad, So it starts out kind of I guess that's God there, or the King of Heaven. He's got his little blurb to say. Then it goes to the Green, or Mother Gaia. There she's threatening to wipe out the world because heaven and hell are disrespecting I guess the earth. And she says she's done it a couple times before, so she's not afraid to do it again. And then it goes into hell, and what they're doing. They have the new Nynx is the new seat on the throne, let's say, and she's worried about that. So they're kind of a lot of blabbing about all their positions in this. And then back on Earth, there's some giant, Godzilla type monster, approaching the western coast. And a lot of this is just 5 hours before it approaches, 4 hours, and it has the three radio or talk shows or three networks talking about it. And, kind of liberal, independent, and then Fox News type where they're just blabbing on about it. And the Spawn kind of putting the team together. And then when they're about to fight, the monster, so it finally speaks and it says, "Bring me Spawn," and that's it. So not much really happens, but like that's like I always say when I read these Spawn or Spawn type comics, it's all show, little go, but it's enough show to get you to get you to that goal.
Right.
I give it a 3.75. It's still a
Yeah.
fun read.
All style, no substance, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
little stuff. Like, the one thing is basically is that monster wants Spawn, and okay, well we'll see.
right. All right. So next up, I got a few here. Godzilla versus X-Men #1, continuing these one-shot uh Godzilla books with Marvel, Nick Bradshaw variant here. Yeah, and then I actually didn't know this because I don't really know much about the Godzilla like movies and stuff like that. I've seen very little of them, and I was hearing, I think on a podcast somewhere, that the thing that they've been also doing with these one shots, which I didn't really catch on to, is not only is it capturing an era of Marvel with the characters, whether it be like 60s or 70s or 80s.
Yeah,
They're also in that era of whatever character they're capturing from Marvel. They're capturing the version of Godzilla that was in the movies at that time, because there's different variations of Godzilla through the films. So I didn't pick up on that, but that's actually kind of really cool. I think for the Godzilla fans, that's kind of neat that they've been doing that. And then when I started thinking about it, I was flipping through a couple of the other Godzilla books that I've bought. And yeah, he does look different in them. Like, it's not even just that it's different artists drawing them. Like, there is different versions of the
because that
character.
Spider-Man was basically from the '80s, because that's right after Spider-Man got his new suit. They made the Avengers. Like, I don't know if it's going chronologically, like between the '60s, '70s, and '80s.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been going chronologically, but the fact that they've been doing that is kind of like just a nice little attention to detail, which I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Actually, I do like that. Again, this is just like all the other ones, though. In the sense that I liked it, and I think it's fun. And this is like the '90s X-Men here, so I think this may have been the one that came after. This is like the blue and gold.
So maybe it is going
Maybe it is going chronological, because if the last one was Spider-Man, which I think it was, which would have been '80s, this is '90s now. So yeah, these are fun. You got some good people doing them. You got Fabian Nicieza, who wrote this one, who was writing the X-Men in the '90s. They kind of got like one of the old writers back to do this. But the melding of Godzilla with the superhero stuff, with the Marvel Universe stuff, I think has been quite fun. Gambit goes in this one to basically get that suit, that what do you call it, the super adaptoid suit, and they use the super adaptoid suit to fight Godzilla in this. And then it gets even wackier. Godzilla, comes and starts fighting him, and then there's like this whole like three-headed Godzilla thing that's made by Trask, the guys that make the Sentinels.
Yeah.
That's made up out of like, it's a three-headed kind of like Hydra type of machine of some sort that's made out of different like Mecha Godzilla type of stuff. Like, so it's really cool. Like, they're really kind of throwing everything at the wall in terms of like, let's take all these Godzilla ideas and all these X-Men kind of ideas and try to make sense of this stuff. And it's fun. I mean, it's like I said, it's not the best thing out, but for what it is, I'm really enjoying these. All these one shots have been pretty good, honestly. I'm happy with it. I'm not feeling like I got burned by buying into these. I'll say that much. So that's the best thing I could say about this, because sometimes these things are just a blatant cash grab, and we're seeing more and more of these type of things from Marvel with their properties. So I'm thankful that this one is a lot of fun. So it's good stuff. So yeah, this here, right here. So yeah, they basically have all these like different, like, different heads, I guess, of different types of things that maybe Godzilla has fought. Bolante and Fire Rodan. Yeah, so these are all like things that Godzilla has fought in the movies. And Trask, basically, the ones that make the Sentinels, made this machine out of all of them. And obviously the X-Men, they help him. And just like all the endings of all the other one shots, Godzilla sees that they're the good guys, and it's a misunderstanding of sorts. He was trying to warn them of it, and he's always misunderstood. And then he slinks back into the water. that's literally how all these one shots said. And you know what? I'm not mad at it. So I'm like, hey, that's Godzilla comes, he does his thing. He throws some punches, and then shoots off some beams there, and he's like, all right, I don't know. He goes back to the water. So
These Godzilla, they should have. Remember those cards where you can open up and you hear the music? These ones you have to open up and you just hear that Godzilla scream. That, hey!
Yeah. That would be awesome. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. So it's fun. I give this the 3.75. I had fun with it, and I think these overall have all been successful, honestly. So, with Jerry Duggan doing the miniseries of him versus the Marvel Universe, I guess that's going to be the current day comic with Godzilla that they're going to do. I hope that's good, because he has to follow up Giant Cockshoe that he also wrote. So I mean, that's going to be a task in and of itself. Doctor Strange of Asgard #3. I've really been enjoying this tie-in. This one, along with the Thunderbolts one, I think have been my favorite tie-ins to the One World Under Doom that they've been doing. I am a big Doctor Strange fan, though. Unfortunately, this was the weakest of all three issues so far, I felt like. In this one, basically, like, he's continuing his quest here to basically become the the head leader of magic for the Asgardians, essentially, like their sorcerer supreme. And in doing so, he finds out that one of his something he has here, I think it's like a troll head or something like that, is fake. And like it almost makes one of his spells go awry as a result. And then the guy's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to speak to my distributor now. Like, what the hell is this? I didn't know this was a fake. I think it's a troll head that he says." And then basically that, or a giant's head or something like that. It's like some creature in Asgard. And then he basically has to go out and then find a replacement for it, and it kind of goes from there. Dark Troll. Yeah. So it kind of goes from there, the storyline. But I just felt like this wasn't as as interesting of an issue in the middle of this mini series as the other two have been. And there's still that whole mystery going on with who killed that person at the start. And, he's kind of just stuck in the middle of everything happening, all this drama between the Asgardians. He's finding himself caught up in between it all. I give this a 3.5 out of 5. It still wasn't bad, but this is probably my least favorite issue of the miniseries so far. Oh, yeah, and then Thor shows up at the end with the help.
Yeah, Thor's kind of like figure out what the heck's going on here, and
yeah.
So that's a nice issue.
It left it in a good spot, yeah. Then Red Hulk #4. Again, this is like a tie into One World Under Doom. They've been on the run from Doom after getting out of his prison. At the end of the last one, they kind of escaped and made their way out to like a cliff, and they jump off the cliff in Latveria at the start of this, and then they're in the water, him, Machine Man, and Deathlock. And yeah, it's basically just continuing this whole story about them on the run. It's a really good action pace though, and it's been fun, like a nice little side story outside of what's going on with Doom, of just these people trying to break free of Latveria and him struggling basically to turn into the Red Hulk because he hasn't had the power to. And by the end of this, I think he's finally able to successfully transform into him, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering correctly. And I think this probably only has like one more issue to go. So again, as a nice little tie-in mini series, it's been fun and it's been cool to see these characters that are very used very sparingly these days. Deathlock, Machine Man, you don't really see them all too much. So I think it was a lot of fun. I get to see him bust some guns off at some Doom bots, of course. And yeah, good stuff. Good action. It's a very good action story. Yeah, he turns into the Red Hulk here at the end. Yeah. I give this a 3.75 out of 5. It's been good. All right, Chris. Phantom Road number 12.
Yeah, I've just been reading this online. I really enjoyed the last issue. And this one here, I guess a lot of it takes place in the past. It's still that cop and I guess his new partner trying to track somebody down and explaining more of basically how this Phantom Road works, and that those I want to call them Buckies, but whatever that gas stop or the truck stop that's are sort of dotted along the highways. It kind of gives some information there that those are weak points between our world and I guess that Phantom Road world. And this guy they're tracking down, somebody's chasing him. I guess the guy that owns all those truck stops, he has something to do with it. And I guess they get transported into this Phantom Road. I guess if you're at those restaurants during sunrise and sunset, and yeah, it's just some good stuff here.
Yeah, Billy Bears. That's what they're
Like I
called.
said, it's a big departure from I guess the first arc where a lot of it was, you're wondering, who all these people are, what they are, and I guess this sort of explains all that stuff. Like if anybody dies close to this highway, they become the lost souls that are roaming around in this
Yeah.
that purgatory or whatever you want to call it.
Well, that was the whole good thing about the way that he did this, is because he really kept you captivated and interested in the first 10 issues of this series without actually even really knowing what the hell was going on. But
Yeah,
it was still interesting to read. And then in this, I guess when the book went on hiatus for a bit and came back with issue 11, last issue, he's now telling this story arc is from the past of this character,
yeah.
and this is where you're getting all the answers. And then I'm sure from here he's going to go into maybe the final arc or two of the series, kind of seeing that play out now that we have all these answers of like what they're the
Yeah,
origin.
and there's that thing that they're carrying. Is that the same egg from like the
Yes.
first series? Okay.
Yes, it's one of those again, right? But obviously this is kind of something that's been going on for some
Yeah.
time, is what we're learning in this story, right? So yeah, really great stuff. I agree. I think last issue we both gave our favorite of the week. This is still being very good. And I just need I need to see how this plays out. I'm really excited for the rest of this story. And yeah, it keeps you guessing. It's a lot of very interesting stuff going on. And yeah, I mean, like they take out this guy at the end of this. It looks like these agents are in trouble, and we'll see how this all plays out, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's great stuff. I think it's really, really good series. And if you guys missed out on this, if you definitely go pick up, I think there's like 2 trades that collect the first half. And then just, like I said, the second half is kind of in the past, the storyline. So maybe check out the trades and see if you like it. What'd you give this, Chris?
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, I'll give this a 4 as well. 4 out of 5. Good stuff.
Yeah, like if you're reading this, it'd make you want to read those first 10 issues. And if you read the first 10 issues, you definitely want to read this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Geiger number 14.
Tiger's got my issue here.
Yeah.
We still got the mystery of Ashley Arden and the Dr. Molotov. I guess in the last one, I think Tariq has, come in contact with Dr. Molotov, and Dr. Molotov's trying to, tell him what Ashley Arden's up to, or the female the glowing lady. I don't know what you want to call her. But Tariq's really not buying what he's got to say. He doesn't know. He's not sure who to trust. And then they have that nuclear bomb in the middle that that was throwing a wrinkle in their plans. You got the army attacking the base. so it's good seeing Nate and I guess all the sidekicks kind of step up a little bit. And you got a story with Junkyard Joe, and he's finding the guy who created him. And, I don't want to say he's threatening to take Junkyard Joe back to fix him and kind of flip a switch to wipe him out. And then he can become the killing machine that he was designed to be. But the big story here, once again, is between Tariq and Ashley Arden, and she kind of reveals what her plan was. Is she wants to blow up that nuclear bomb, and then so Tariq would be there to kind of absorb all the radiation, and during that time, he would absorb her radiation, basically curing her. Which you can see why she might be involved in some sort of trickery to do what she's doing. So I'm enjoying this story, and I'm loving this world. I like this world.
Yeah, it's still good. I don't know where they're gonna go from here. A lot of things are coming to a head, not even just with that Ashley, also with Junkyard Joe here. His creators confronted him in this issue. I'm interested to see where that goes. But yeah, it looks like a lot of stuff's coming to the head. The bomb might go off next issue, and the whole idea is that everyone else may get destroyed, and then I guess Geiger will just become stronger as a result of everything. Like
I
he's
don't
gonna
know, man.
absorb
Yeah.
it. So I don't know. She's very troubled, this Ashley Arden character, and she's a hard person to trust with everything that you're learning about her here. So yeah, I this is just one of those kind of issues where I'm like, I need to know what happens next.
Yep.
Another good installment though. Honestly, it's keeping me my attention for sure and keeping me interested in this stuff. So
That's it. There's a lot of meat on the bone here, and I'm ready to chow down.
yeah,
I give this a 4.
same. Yeah, 4 out of 5 as well. Good stuff. This is actually a really good week for Image Comics, in my opinion. I had a lot of really
Oh yeah, for sure.
a lot of great stuff this week, and just comics. I actually had a really good week reading my comics this week. Next up, speaking of great Image Comics, we got Exquisite Corpses #1. This one right here. I definitely would say check this out, Chris, if you get the chance. I really enjoyed this. This is by James Tynion and Michael Walsh on art for this issue. And of course, from Silver Coin, I talked a lot about on here, and a bunch of other things that he's done. He just did that Frankenstein miniseries. James Tynion, of course, does a lot of horror stuff, but this is basically more of like a action thriller type of deal, I would say, maybe with some horror elements at times. But this is a huge issue. I think this is like 48 or 60 pages. I don't know. It's a huge issue. So I think the price tag was what, $4.99. So this is just value as well. If you were able to pick this up this week. But basically, they needed all those pages, wisely so, to do the setup of this issue, of basically this series. And again, the marketing that they've been doing online for the series has been really interesting. Like they're going on tour at all these shops to promote it, and like each issue is going to be basically this is like one of those situations where the rich and powerful that control the world once a year get together and do one of these hunting type of games where they close off a part of the United States as the hunting grounds, essentially, for a bunch of maniacs that they do this every 5 years. Sorry, not every year, every 5 years. The most rich and powerful people that control essentially the world behind the scenes, they close off a part of the United States as their battlegrounds, and they all bring basically like their avatar, like their person that they're going to use to fight for their family in this scenario, essentially, right? And each of them gets tasked. I guess they draw cards or something, that there has to be a weapon representative of that family that person has to use. So, like, say, I don't know, this one family, they'll bring in some serial killer as their candidate, and the card they drew was a baseball bat or something. So he has to go out there with the baseball bat and basically try to kill the other opponents of the other families, right? And they do this every 5 years, and then whoever ends up winning the competition by taking out all the other people that they've brought there, ends up basically being the head family in charge for the next 5 years. That kind of calls all the shots out of this. Like, so, it's like kind of like definitely a lot of Illuminati type of influence type stuff going on here. And there's those movies where, like, we've seen this a few times. This isn't something new where rich people hunt people and this kind of stuff. So, but I really like that as a concept. I think that's great. It's a lot of fun. And in this issue, they basically showed you all the players, all the families got together. You saw how they kind of took over this town. Some sheriff got paid off at the start of this to kind of turn his back. And then basically they enclose this area. The unfortunate part about this, though, is the people that live in this town can fall victim to the shit that's going on within their town while this actual
collateral damage.
Yeah, because like some of the people that are collateral damage, because some of the people that are in this thing are like serial killers and like maniacs and like all these people like that they think are going to be threats to the rest of the team. But in this issue, for instance, there is a bystander that ends up getting killed because he gets close to two people that end up are shooting against one another, that are basically against one another. So the one guy kills this innocent bystander, and then the other person, catches him doing it and was able to take him out, right? I guess the more of a character seems like with a bit of a moral compass, essentially. So there's the 12 families, and basically, I guess each issue of this series, if I had to guess, because it's a 12-issue series, one of the other people is going to get taken out. Already at the end of this first issue, the first of the people has gotten taken out in this. So I'm just in for the ride. I love Michael Walsh's art. James Tynion is a great writer, has done lots of great stuff that we've talked about here on the show. I'm in. This is just a concept alone. This is a very interesting series, and I'm a sucker for this kind of thing. So, here's some of the characters. Recluse. He has to use the string, essentially, like a rope or string to basically. So it looks like he uses a bunch of wire or something to kill people. Leopold Strong, he looks like a circus act guy who's got like a big fucking hammer. Again, on the card it shows that small like hammer, but he's using like a Harley Quinn like huge hammer, it seems here. So like, they take obviously their own liberties to kind of take whatever the idea of the weapon is and use it to their advantage. So it's some interesting stuff going on here. Rascal Randy, the congregation. This guy's literally like one of these serial killers, I think, that kills people and then stitches parts of their skin onto himself. So it's just like all these weird characters. And like you kind of really just scratch the surface in this issue of like getting introduced to these people, because this is more about the setup and the families meeting with each other this issue. And then, I guess we'll see them more in play as the series goes on. This guy just drugs people, like he's a doctor, I guess, that drugged people, the death, Nurse Pete, Pretty Boy. Kind of reminds me of that like 13 Ghosts too, that horror movie, if anybody's familiar with that. Gamer Kid. Yeah. So like this guy uses like all this like crazy tech and stuff to kill people. Like, so yeah, it's just very cool, creative type of fun things they're doing here. Layla Blaze. Yeah. So Slater, I don't know, he uses explosives, it looks like. So yeah, and you know me, Chris. What do I love as a trope? Getting the band together. You know me, my friend.
Introduce the band. Here we go. And I'm big.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I think in the back of the issues they put like playing cards and stuff you can cut out of all the characters like in each issue. So it's fun. I like this a lot. Fox Mask Killer. He's the one who was on the cover of this issue. So, anyways, I'm in 4.25 because it was a lot of setup, I would say, this issue. But it was a huge issue, and I think it's good that they did an oversized issue to explain all this. So if you're in, this is one of those things where you can read and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm in or I'm out. Like if this doesn't, attract you, then you can just kind of sit the rest of the series out, honestly. So definitely check this out. I think this is going to be a really good series as it goes on. It's really interesting Image series from great creators. 4.25 out of 5. Yeah. Energon Universe 2025 special number 1. This is basically the same thing that they came out with last year. I don't have the art for this, but this is like Marvel does, basically letting you know what's going to be going on in all of the books for the Energon stuff throughout the year, setting up their storylines. And that's basically what they do in this one. Like they're kind of really trying to connect the dots here in this one with the fact that there's G.I. Joes with Transformers and Transformers with G.I. Joes. Void Rivals is still in the mix, but their whole involvement too in this one, I guess they're slowly starting to show you that they're aliens that are in that know of the Transformers and everything else. But that's kind of still more focusing, I would say, their short story on the war that's going to happen in that book between those two alien species in Void Rivals. This is the setup in this one, that they're going to go to war essentially. And then with the GI Joe stuff, Clutch, if you remember, he was undercover in the Cobra base, and you basically see where he ended up in this issue essentially after he got out of there. And they're reintroducing some villains that have already showed up in the swamps. So that mini series, if you recall. There's also now I don't know this property. Maybe you do, Chris, because you grew up around that time too. A character from Mask shows up in this issue.
Mask?
Yes.
Like the...
Yes, Mask. It's also a cartoon.
Whoa, wow. Like I remember that cartoon.
Yeah. So there's a character. I don't know this from my experience. I had to read it online. But the character in this that or in the letters column, they said it. Hold on. 1 second. Where does it say? Matt Tracker, the iconic hero from Mask, has joined the Energon universe. So many of you have asked about Mask, because I think it's another Hasbro property or something, right? Or whoever owned these characters. And we have big plans for Matt, but you'll have to keep reading to find out how he fits into the Energon universe. So yeah, so any of you Mask fans out there, there's a Mask character in this. It didn't really mean much to me. Anyways, but 3.75 out of 5, I would give this issue. It's kind of, it just started up a little bit of a bunch of things, but nothing kind of seen through to completion. And it's 3 short stories. So you get some Daniel Warren Johnson art on the Transformers issue. So that's always good too. Then you got Transformers number 20. Chris, you didn't have time to read this, you said, right?
Yeah, I didn't get to this. This got lost in the pile somewhere.
Okay.
I got it somewhere. Who knows? Anyways.
Yeah, so big doings in this. Like basically now what Megatron is back. He beats the shit out of Starscream because he had to basically reassert his dominance, I guess, over this team, because Starscream was the one that's been leading them. Beats the shit out of Starscream in this. It really causes a problem between basically some of the other members that were kind of following him. And he uses his new technique, Chris, where he turns into a gun and he forces him to shoot one of the other members of their team basically to death because he's not following orders. I forgot which one that was, but he basically shoots another. He makes Starscream shoot the shit out of this other guy who didn't want to follow Megatron because of some shit that went down between Megatron and him previous to everything that has occurred now. And basically, yeah, you're seeing Optimus Prime get together, rally up his troops right now, and get ready for an attack from them, I guess, again, now that they've basically just been chilling out on Earth. And he talks to that human kid and everything in this issue. So, yeah, not like, this is one of those ones where it's just continuing the story and, the fallout of, I guess, the previous arc. Still good stuff happening, though, and building up. And the George Corona art was good. And Dana Warren John's still writing it. So I'm happy. 3.75 out of 5. I thought it was another enjoyable issue of the series. So good stuff. And I'm looking forward to see what happens now with Megatron in charge, right? So I'm really excited that he's finally in the book here. So, I know Starscream enough too, but Megatron, it's, I'm glad he's finally here. Like, it's taken a while for him to come into this book, right? So, which I'm not mad at, but I'm glad they didn't forget about him. It's fucking,
Just save some juice for later.
Yeah. And Usagi Yojimbo, 10,000 Plums, number 3. Another good issue, not too much to add about this. Basically, the yokai, which means I think it's like monster or something in Japanese, like the transforming person that came to visit this village at the start of this story that was trying to get food for her and her daughter. She ends up coming back and taking revenge on a bunch of these people because they didn't help her out and give her the fruit from the plums from the tree. They turned their back on her because she was like a beggar woman as she transformed into a human from this like wolf kind of thing that she is. And her child died. Apparently her child died, maybe of starvation. I'm not sure, but she comes and like seeks vengeance on the town people in this. Usagi kind of ends up, coming across her and having to fight her and scare her off essentially. But then, they pass his judgment on the townsfolk for the way that they treated her after the fact as well. gives them a little grief about that. And, from there, he kind of continues his travels. So I guess we'll see where the story leads us now. But the whole town in the mess of her attacking everybody, a fire started, and it ended up taking almost all of their precious trees out that grow those plums. So it's kind of like they got their karma essentially of like not helping somebody in need, and this whole town basically felt got the repercussions from that. I get this 3.75 out of 5. Another good issue of Usagi. All right, Chris, Absolute Batman number 8.
I was hoping to get that Redondo cover, but they just
Oh,
had
I
me give
did.
me the in cover. Oh, fuck, that's a nice cover.
Yeah, man.
That's the one I asked for, but I guess you don't get everything you ask for sometimes. But yeah, I guess we continue the story of is it Mr. Freeze or however they want to call him, Mr. Freeze. I think the last issue, Batman was or was Bruce Wayne was stuck in a bad place, or Bruce Pennyworth, whatever he called himself there. He sort of was succumbing to the touch of Dr. Freeze, and we find him there sort of in a test tube, about to get the Han Solo treatment there, I guess, and go into the deep freeze. And somehow he breaks free with a few batarangs. He's able to break through the test tube. And then we get a lot of, and then I guess he gets his costume on somewhere. I guess he brought it with him. I don't know. They don't really explain that, but he gets his costume on, and I don't know. This Batman's looking a lot like Spawn in this issue. That cape is doing. I remember they explained it that he had those little frames in there to make those wings and stuff. But I don't know. We're talking a Spawn cape here for sure. And otherwise, it's still good fun. I don't take this one too seriously, but there's stuff moving along in the story. It looks like Wayland gets captured by somebody, and I guess we have shades of Croc coming into business. And it talks. Do they talk about Matches Malone in this one here a bit too? Again, yes. I don't know.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, I got some history, I guess, with Matches when he was a kid, and they start going. That's one thing I didn't really like too much about this story. Where they're still talking about Batman and the incidents at the zoo where his father I guess his father had to go back outside to get matches, and that's why his father kind of ended up dying. And then, I guess that was the big event that sort of turned Bruce Wayne into Batman. And then they're just saying, I guess now that they're all involved in this story, they're kind of telling him, look, it's you're Batman because you stayed inside the fence or something, and his friends all come to help, blah blah blah. Good stuff, but
yeah, I know what you're saying. It's not but I think in a good way, like it is good that they're building up the mythos of this character and this world. You know what I mean? Like yeah. I think it's good that they're doing that in these couple of issues. If you want to do that in between arcs the way that they did in this kind of two-parter, I'm okay with that. But I do want to get back to what was happening previous to this story. Yeah, I agree, like in that sense, because it's not what we exactly want at this time after the
you can't tease Bane and then give us all these freaking Dr. Food stories.
But they're doing the work. Like they have to kind of build up this whole world and mythology of these characters and everything. And it'll mean more once we get back to the main story. So I get what he's doing, but I like that he's doing it in this two-parter right here, as opposed to like, let's go off and tell a 6-issue arc of like something from his past, which I know you're not a fan of, and neither am I sometimes, depending how that plays out. Right. Cause it kind of hits a pause button on like everything that's been going on. It's been interesting, right? So I don't need that right now with this ish series either. It was just starting to get really good. So like, I need to get back to the main story with Bane and everything else now. So what'd you give this?
We got a 3.75.
I agree. Yeah. And then finally we got DC versus Vampires World War V number 9.
Yeah, I thought I was getting a freaking variant cover for this, but a cover's still not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was supposed to be getting the one with Big Barda jumping around, but
I saw that one. Yeah.
Anyways, I think with this, what's here pretty much isn't the vampires and the humans basically have to team up now.
Yeah.
And we see what's going on with sort of Darkseid, and there's a lot of stuff with Darkseid. He's trying to take over Atlantis. Doesn't is it Aquaman that has the Miracle Man and the baby or something? That's supposed to be the prophecy that's gonna
Yeah.
take out Darkseid. So I think they're just kind of moving all the players into place and getting ready for the finale. I don't know how many issues it's got left. What's this, issue 9? Is this going to 12 or something?
12, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of just getting pieces in place and get ready for everything. It's still not bad. I like the story, I like the art, and I like following the adventures of these guys here.
Yeah, this book's so much fun. I have so much fun every time we read this. There's a lot going on, but I'm never lost. And yeah, it's just a real solid book that I hope they continue to do miniseries for. I have no problem with how many they've done so far. I definitely don't think I think they should just focus on one main series. I remember they went off and did that other miniseries. They did a couple of them, remember? And those
Yeah,
were
they had the Killers and then All Out War or something. Yeah, I
those
didn't like
were
those too much.
those weren't ever as good, and that may be because these creators, Matthew Rosenberg and what's his name that's drawing this? I forget his name all the
Yeah,
time.
I think Otto Schmidt.
Yeah, Otto Schmidt. These guys are the ones I'll read the books from. Like,
Yeah.
I think they just have a better handle on everything that's going on in this story. And those other side books just didn't really add too much, I felt like, to this. But these are always super fun. I just love how they always bring in new cast characters in every story, and like how we're kind of seeing how everyone's connected that's still alive in the DC universe. And really everybody's coming together from New Gods to the Atlanteans at this point, right? So I mean, like, yeah, so it's good stuff. I have a fun time every time we read this book when it comes out. So good stuff. What'd you give this?
Yeah, I'm giving this 3.75.
Well, I'll go 4 out of 5 this week for this one. Yeah, good stuff. All right, that's gonna do it for the books that we read this week that we wanted to talk about. Chris, what are you looking forward to checking out next week?
Let's see, they got stuff loaded up here. Ultimates 12. They're on thin ice, though. I'll tell you that much. At least buying them. I'm happy to read the story. Fantastic Four, I'll probably read. Getting Amazing Spider-Man 5. Ooh, I don't think. Who knows? I might end up with the Incredible Hulk 25 because we have one of those Alex Ross covers. I think the guy in my LCL is just ordering those for me blindly, which I don't mind. Oh, Spider-Man and Wolverine. I think I saw a preview for this. It's looking good in there. I don't care what that story is about, but
Yeah,
Spider-Man and Wolverine by Carrie Andrews. Ooh,
yeah,
can't say nothing bad about that.
no,
That Weapon X, man. I don't know. I don't even know what's happening in there anymore. I thought we finished the last story. And I think that's it from Marvel. And for DC, probably try and read Detective. I'll see what's going on. This Batman, Superman, World's Finest. I don't know if that's still part of that yesteryear or Days of Yesterday little mini event they got going on. Wonder Woman 21. Looking forward to that. Well, I guess there's Superman Unlimited, but I'll probably read that, but I didn't buy it. And let's see what Image got. Oh, Bug Wars. Good stuff with Bug Wars. I think that's it for DC or for Image for me. What do you get?
what do I got here? I got Absolute Flash, Amazing Spider-Man 4, Batman and Robin Year 1, Batman Superman World's Finest, DC Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna be talking about that on the show. This is what I'm grabbing, but yeah, I'm not talking about that. Those are Christine's, the DC Sonic. I'm not reading that. Detective Comics, GI Joe. I'm getting an Alex Ross cover for Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu because it's a
Yeah, I
Moon
think I'm
Knight.
getting that as well. Is that the Moon Knight cover?
Yeah, I like Moon Knight, so I had to grab that one, even though I don't read that. I mean, I'm waiting for the trade on those, but I don't read that series in issues on the show. Spider-Man Wolverine for sure. I'm grabbing. I have it in my list here. I don't know if this is correct. Is Superman Unlimited #1 I have for coming
Yeah,
up?
I thought there too.
Which is funny because that's also drawn by Raphael Albuquerque, who did the Huck book that came out this week.
Oh yeah.
So maybe he already had banked to those issues. I don't know, but I just, yeah. I mean, he's no Dan Mora as far as I know, but that's kind of
Yeah.
cool. I mean, we get some Raphael Albuquerque this week. He's also drawing Spider-Man Unlimited. Ultimates 12, like you, I'm kind of getting last couple of issues haven't been all that.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna get that story going again.
Wonder Woman 21. And then that's all everything I'm picking up physically. Let's see if anything digitally I'm reading here. Vatican City 2 comes out next week, it looks like. What
Oh
else?
yeah, ooh, yeah, I want to read that. That was a good one.
I didn't read that in time for the show, but I ended up reading it after you talked about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't bad. I don't know what else here. Superman Limited, I just already said. Yeah, I think that's it for DC. That's Dark Horse. I don't know if there's anything from Image. Image, Bug Wars, like you said. No, I think that's it. And then Marvel. No, I'm not reading Doom Academy. Oh, Fantastic Four, I'll read for sure. That's been really interesting. That's where they lost their powers, right? That's been good.
Yeah.
I guess another one of those team up issues, Hulk and Doctor Strange, maybe. Depends, how many books I got here. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's about it. I don't really see too much else here. I didn't like Superior Avengers. Oh, The Thing #1. That's the new miniseries by Tony Fleece comes out next week, and I think they're good artists trying that, if I'm not mistaken. So I might check that out. The Thing #1 miniseries. I might check that one out. And then Weapon X-Men, and yeah, I think that's about it. All right. So that's what we're looking forward to reading next week. All right, Chris, what was your favorite book of the week?
Well, I hate it. It's never when it's one of the books I don't buy, but I have to give it to Huck. I think I liked Huck the best.
Wow.
The writing for Huck, even there's just a few lines there where he could write just something normally, but he just kind of puts a little twist in the word where it just kind of keeps it interesting. Like when that witch was talking or something. That was all good stuff in that Huck.
Nice. It was between two books for me this week. That's Invincible Universe Battle Beast and Exquisite Corpses. And I'm going to go with Exquisite Corpses for my favorite of the week. It was close, though. I mean, both great art, both first issues for interesting series for Image Comics. But just off the concept alone, I'll go with the Exquisite Corpses this time around. But I highly recommend checking out either of those books, though. I like I said, it was a great week for Image. Phantom Road, the Energon Universe stuff.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff coming out of Image right now. I'm really happy about.
Yeah, it's definitely a big week for Image. And Image, like, their writing seems to be more free. Like,
yeah,
when you read the Marvel or DC, like, they almost have like the Marvel way or the DC way. It's almost a blueprint for every comic that's very successful for them. But then when you read something else, that has a bit more of a free flow sort of narrative, it just makes it that much more interesting.
it's because of their corporate entities. There's an editor on Marvel books, and these are more.
That's it. Yeah, if they try and do something else, no, I don't know. I think maybe we want to keep everything linear. We don't want to confuse the readers too much or something.
These independent comics more so. The only time that they use an editor on Image is if the team requests an editor to look over their work. Otherwise, they're free to basically do whatever they want, right? Yeah. So yeah, you're right in saying that is the case, right? And I think with some of these creator-owned series, they can put a lot more of it into of themselves into the books too, because they own these properties. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're not afraid to like just throw out their best ideas and then lose everything to years worth of continuity for Marvel, and then it ends up in a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they'll just put a little sign on you, and that's their nod to you. I remember, I think Liefeld, isn't he all upset about
about
Deadpool and everything?
He's not a great example, but I get what you're saying. He's that guy's a character, but he's totally turned his back on Marvel now. Yeah, he's like,
I think it's because of that Deadpool movie. Is like, they showed him no love.
He wasn't treated
they offered to fly to the premiere, and that was it.
He thinks he should be treated as good as the actors in the movie should be, because that's why.
At least the actors should treat him. Right. Maybe Marvel doesn't want to do it, but if they want some feel good moments, I guess, from the fandom that's really down for that stuff.
he said Kevin Feige and a lot of those heads of Marvel studios were not treating him with respect. That's what he was claiming when he was griping about that online. But he's a complicated dude, though. So I don't know. I don't know if I take his word for that or not. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, there is definitely creators that feel that way, right? So I get it, right? So, anyways, but that's all I'll say about that, and that's it for this week. And Chris, thank you as always. Good time chatting
Thank
comics
you.
with you. And we'll see you guys next week. And I think we're also going to have comic solicitations next week by the time we record that as well. So look forward to that.
Get stuff out there.
That'll be its own video. So definitely go check that out. All right, guys. Later.
All right. Cheers.